I was hired to date his son, but I ended up falling for him instead. The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps as I pulled up to the Hale estate, my old Ford pickup coughing like it had one last secret to spill before dying. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat a reminder of the lie I just sold myself. This was just a job. Easy money. Date the rich kid. Make him smile. Keep his old man off his back. But the ad had been too perfect. Companion needed for young adult, discreet, professional, generous compensation. And hell, at 25, with my freelance graphic design gigs barely covering rent in this drizzly hellhole. Who was I to say no? I smoothed my button-down shirt, caught a whiff of the cheap cologne clinging to my skin like regret, and stepped out into the downpour. The wrought iron gate creaked open as if it knew I was already in over my head. Inside, the foyer hit me like a scene from one of those old noir films. Polished oak floors echoing my hesitant footsteps, a crystal chandelier dripping light like melting ice, and the faint scent of aged leather and cigar smoke hanging in the air. A butler, straight out of central casting, all stiff collar and clipped voice, led me to the study without a word. I wiped my palms on my jeans, tasting the metallic tang of nerves on my tongue. And there he was.
Richard Hale.
Not the son. Him. Leaning against a massive mahogany desk, sleeves rolled up on a charcoal shirt that hugged his broad shoulders just right. Forearms corded with veins from years of who knows what. Tennis courts or boardroom battles. Mid-40s, maybe, with that salt and pepper stubble framing a jaw that could cut glass, and eyes like storm clouds over Puget Sound, gray piercing, seeing right through the bullshit I hadn't even voiced yet. He straightened as I entered, extending a hand that swallowed mine in a grip firm but warm, calluses rough against my skin. "Mr. Ellis?" he said, voice low and gravelly, like tires on wet gravel. "Ethan, right? Thanks for coming on short notice." I nodded, forcing a smile that felt like cracking plaster. "Yeah, Ethan Ellis. Pleasure's mine." Up close, he smelled like sandalwood and fresh rain, a combo that made my stomach twist in ways it had no business twisting. Get it together, I thought. You're here for the kid. He gestured to a leather armchair that sighed under my weight as I sat. Straight to it, then. My son, Alex, he's 22, finishing up at UW. Smart as hell, but he's been through some rough patches. Divorce hit him hard when he was a teen. He's gay, you know? Out since 16. But dating? It's a minefield for him. Bullies, bad breakups. I just want him to feel normal. To have someone steady, no strings, who gets it. Someone who'll take him out. Show him Seattle's got more than coffee and clouds. Pays $5,000 a month, plus expenses. Discreet. Off the books. His words landed like punches, soft, but they bruised. I swallowed. The room suddenly too warm. The tick of the grandfather clock in the corner amplifying the thud of my pulse. "I get it," I managed, voice steadier than I felt. I'm gay too. Been out since college. I can do that. Make it feel real without the mess." Richard's gaze held mine, unblinking, a flicker of something raw crossing his face. Relief? Loneliness? It vanished quick as Seattle fog burning off. "Good. Alex is out back, sketching by the pool. Go introduce yourself. Dinner's at 7. We'll talk terms after." I stood, legs like jelly, and he clapped a hand on my shoulder. Firm, lingering half a second too long. Heat bloomed under his palm, seeping through my shirt, and I caught the faint hitch in his breath, like he'd felt it too. "Thanks, Ethan," he murmured. "You have no idea what this means." Out by the pool, the rain had eased to a mist that beaded on the glass doors like tears. Alex was there, sprawled on a lounge chair, sketchpad balanced on his knees, charcoal smudging his fingers. He looked up as I approached, and damn if he wasn't the spitting image of his dad. Same strong jaw, same hazel eyes that sparked with guarded curiosity. Leaner, though with that effortless college boy vibe. faded band tee clinging to his chest from the humidity, jeans ripped at the knees, hair a tousled mess of brown waves that begged for fingers to run through it. "Hey," I said, sliding into the chair opposite, forcing casual. "I'm Ethan, your dad's friend. Hired help, I guess." He arched a brow, lips quirking in a half-smile that hit like sunlight through clouds. "The fake boyfriend?" Bold move, walking right into that. His voice was lighter than his father's, laced with that Pacific Northwest drawl. Soft vowels, easy sarcasm. He set the sketch pad aside. It was open to a half-finished portrait of the city skyline, all jagged lines and shadowed alleys, raw with emotion. I chuckled, rubbing the back of my neck, the damp air chilling my skin. Guilty. But hey, if we're faking it, might as well make it fun. "What's your poison? Craft beer tours or underground music spots?" Alex's eyes lit up, real interest cutting through the wariness. "Both. Dad's idea of fun is golf and mergers. This could be interesting." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, and for a second, the mist swirled around us like a veil, the distant hum of the city a low underscore. "Just don't break my heart, okay? Even fake ones sting." His words hung there, heavy as the rain-scented air, and I nodded, throat tight. "Promise." But as we talked, about his art major, the ex who ghosted him after coming out to his frat buddies, the way Seattle's endless gray mirrored his moods, something shifted. His laugh was infectious, a bright bark that echoed off the water, and when our knees brushed accidentally, sparks jumped like static on wool. By the time Richard called us in for dinner, Alex was animated, gesturing wildly about a street art festival, and I was hooked. Not just on the job, on him. Dinner was a spread that screamed old money. Seared salmon glistening under candlelight, asparagus spears snapped crisp, a bottle of Pinot Noir breathing on the sideboard. The dining room overlooked the garden, where fairy lights twinkled through the drizzle like hesitant stars. Richard sat at the head, Alex to his right, me across, close enough to catch the way father and son mirrored each other. Same tilt of the head when listening, same crinkle at the eyes when amused. "So, Ethan," Richard said, pouring wine with a steady hand, the liquid glugging rich and red into my glass. "Tell us about you. Beyond the resume." I took a sip, the tart berry burst on my tongue, grounding me. "Born and raised in Tacoma. Mom's a nurse, dad split when I was 8. I do graphic design, logos for startups, album covers for indie bands. Pays the bills mostly." I shrugged, fork scraping porcelain. "Not much drama, unless you count dodging my landlord's calls." Alex snorted, spearing a bite of salmon. "Drama's overrated. But Tacoma? That's like Seattle's scrappy little brother. Ever hit the dive bars on Pacific?" We dove into stories then. Me recounting a bar fight over a spilled pint, him laughing about sneaking into a punk show at 14. Richard watched, quiet at first, swirling his wine, but his smiles came easier, lines deepening around his mouth like rivers carving canyons. Once, when Alex teased me about my artistic temperament, Richard leaned in, voice dropping. "Sounds like you've got fire, Ethan. We could use more of that around here." His foot nudged mine under the table. Accidental, surely, and I froze, heat flooding my cheeks. The clink of silverware, the soft patter of rain on the windows, it all blurred into white noise. Alex didn't notice, too busy piling seconds on his plate, but Richard's gaze lingered, a question in those gray depths that made my pulse stutter. After dinner, as Alex dragged me to the home theater for a flick, something cheesy to kick off the charade, he grinned. We settled on the couch, bowls of popcorn balanced on our laps. The room was a cave of plush leather and surround sound, the screen flickering to life with explosions and quips. Halfway through, Alex's head lolled onto my shoulder, his breath warm against my neck, steady and trusting. I draped an arm around him, heart aching with the sweetness of it, the salty crunch of kernels, the buttery scent mingling with his clean soap smell, the low rumble of the movie score vibrating through us. Upstairs, Richard paused in the doorway, silhouetted against the hall light, watching. I caught his eye over Alex's curls, and for a heartbeat, the air thickened, charged like the moment before thunder. He nodded once, almost imperceptibly, then turned away, leaving the echo of his footsteps fading down the carpeted hall. That night, in the guest room with its king bed swallowing me whole, sheets crisp as new snow, I stared at the ceiling fan whirring lazy circles. The house creaked around me, settling like an old beast into sleep, and I replayed it all. Alex's easy warmth, Richard's unspoken weight. This job was supposed to be simple. Date the sun, fake the smiles. But already, cracks were forming. Desire seeping in like rain through a faulty roof. And as the clock ticked past midnight, a sigh escaped me, long and ragged, into the dark. What the hell had I signed up for? The first date was Alex's idea, a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge at dawn, the kind of masochistic Pacific Northwest ritual that promised views worth the burn. We piled into his Jeep at 5 a.m., the engine growling to life with a throaty purr, windows fogged from our coffee breaths. Seattle sprawled below us as we drove, a misty labyrinth of steel and evergreens, the Space Needle poking through like a forgotten promise. Alex cranked the radio, some indie folk band crooning about lost loves and winding roads, his fingers drumming the wheel in time. "You ever feel like the city's just waiting to swallow you whole?" he asked, glancing sideways, hazel eyes catching the first blush of sunrise. I leaned back, the leather seat creaking under me, inhaling the mix of pine air seeping through the vents and his faint citrus shampoo. Every damn day, but up here, feels like you can outrun it. The trailhead was quiet, gravel crunching under our boots as we started up. Mist clung to the ferns like ghostly fingers, the air sharp with damp earth and wild mint. Alex led, his hoodie zipped against the chill, backpack slung low with water bottles clinking inside. I followed, lungs burning after the first switchback, sweat beading on my forehead despite the cold. He slowed, offering a hand over a muddy patch, his palm warm and steady, calloused from gripping charcoal sticks. "Hang on," he said, pulling me up with a grin that lit his face like the breaking sun. Our fingers laced for a second longer than needed, and I felt it. The spark, innocent but electric, humming between us like a live wire. At the top, the ledge jutted out over the valley, a sheer drop to the Snoqualmie River snaking far below, whitecaps foaming like spilled milk. We collapsed onto boulders, chests heaving, the world unspooling in greens and blues and endless sky. Alex unpacked sandwiches, turkey on rye, crusts cut off like his dad probably insisted, and we ate in companionable silence at first, the only sounds the rustle of wrappers and a hawk's distant cry slicing the air. "So," he said finally, wiping mustard from his lip with the back of his hand, "this fake thing, you ever done it before? Play pretend for cash?" I shook my head, chasing crumbs with a swig from my bottle, the water cool sliding down my throat. Nah. Closest was escorting a buddy to his sister's wedding. Drunk uncles hitting on me was the highlight. I paused, the wind whipping my hair, carrying the faint, briny tang of the river up from below. "You ever had a setup like this?" His laugh was short, bitter-edged, like biting into an unripe plum. "Dads tried. Therapists, coaches, that one life guru who charged a fortune to unlock my potential. This feels different, though. Less like pity, more like, I don't know, hope." He turned to me then, knees bumping mine, eyes searching. "You're easy to talk to, Ethan. Like you've been kicked around enough to get it without the lectures." Something in his voice cracked the air between us, vulnerable and raw, and I reached out, squeezing his shoulder. muscle firm under the fabric, warm through the layers. "Hey, I'm here for the long haul, fake or not." He leaned in, head dropping to my shoulder again, just like on the couch. But this time it lingered, his sigh feathering against my collarbone. The sun crested fully now, gilding the treetops in liquid gold, and for a stolen minute it felt real. The press of his body, the shared quiet, the way the world narrowed to just us on that edge. My arm slipped around his waist, natural as breathing, and he didn't pull away. If anything, he melted closer, a soft hum escaping him like contentment found in the wild. Back at the estate by noon, Richard was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled to his elbows, flipping pancakes on a griddle that sizzled with buttery pops. The room smelled like vanilla and maple syrup, sunlight slanting through bay windows onto marble counters cluttered with mixing bowls. He looked up as we tumbled in, flushed and muddy, Alex's arms slung casual around my shoulders. "Well, look at you too," he said, voice warm as the steam rising from the stack. A spatula hovered in his hand, drips of batter hissing on the heat. "Conqueror's return. How was the ledge?" "Brutal," Alex groaned, snagging a pancake straight off the pile and folding it like a taco. "But Ethan's a trooper. Didn't even whine when I made him pose for sketches." Richard's eyes flicked to me, that gray gaze holding a beat too long, amusement laced with something sharper. "Envy? Good man. Sit. Fuel up before you crash." We did, plates clattering, forks scraping as syrup pooled sticky and sweet. Conversation flowed easy. Trail mishaps, Alex's latest project, a mural inspired by the view, and Richard's dry quips about board meetings that dragged like bad hikes. But under it all thrummed a current, subtle as the tick of the wall clock. Richard's knee brushed mine when passing the juice, a jolt that made me fumble my glass, orange spilling in a bright arc. "Sorry," he muttered, grabbing a napkin, his fingers grazing my wrist. Deliberate? Accidental? The touch lingered, rough pat of his thumb against my pulse, and I swear his breath caught, a quiet hitch like fabric tearing. Alex, oblivious, chattered on about paint suppliers, but I felt Richard's stare across the table, heavy as the rain clouds gathering outside. When he cleared the plates later, shoulder bumping mine at the sink, "Let me," he said, voice low, suds foaming white around his forearms. I nodded, stepping back, heart pounding like boots on gravel. The sink gurgled, water rushing hot and insistent, and as he rinsed, I caught his reflection in the window. Jaw set, eyes distant, a man wrestling shadows I couldn't name. That afternoon, Alex napped off the hike, sprawled in his room with sketches scattered like fallen leaves. I wandered the grounds, drawn to the library, a two-story sanctum of floor-to-ceiling shelves groaning under leather-bound tomes, ladders on rails whispering against wood. Dust motes danced in the light shafts, the air thick with the musty perfume of old paper and faint pipe tobacco. Richard found me there, thumbing through a first-edition Hemingway, the pages crackling soft under my fingers. "Hiding out?" he asked, leaning in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, shirt straining at the seams. I closed the book with a thud that echoed. "Exploring. Your collection's insane. You read all this?" "Most." He pushed off the frame, sauntering closer, boots scuffing the Persian rug. Up close, the lines around his eyes deepened, etched by years of squinting at screens or sunsets, or lovers lost. Alex used to curl up here as a kid, devouring comics. Now it's just echoes. His voice trailed, heavy with the weight of unsaid things, and he reached past me for a volume on the shelf, body heat radiating like a furnace. Our arms brushed, fabric whispering, and I inhaled sharp, the sandalwood again, mingled with clean sweat from whatever he'd been doing earlier. "You okay?" I asked, turning to face him, our faces inches apart, breaths mingling in the charged space. He paused, hand hovering on the spine, gray eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that pinned me. Yeah, just seeing you two this morning. It stirred things up. A pause, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed. Haven't seen him that light in years. Thanks to you. The compliment landed soft, but his gaze dipped to my mouth quick as a flicker before snapping back. My throat went dry, the room spinning slow like a record groove. It's the job, I whispered, voice rough, but even I heard the lie in it. Richard's hand dropped, fingers grazing my elbow, light, testing. More than that, I think. The words hung, electric, and then he stepped back, exhaling a long, ragged breath that stirred the air between us. Dinner plans? Alex mentioned that Italian place in Belltown. I nodded, numb, watching him go, the door clicking shut like a lock turning. Alone, I sank into an armchair, the leather enveloping me, heart racing wild. The fake was fraying fast, threads of want pulling toward the wrong hail. Outside, thunder grumbled low, promising a storm, and I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the frantic flutter beneath. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was a goddamn fuse, lit and hissing. Week 2 blurred into a rhythm that felt dangerously like routine. Mornings with Alex, coffee steaming in mismatched mugs on the sun porch, steam curling like secrets as he sketched me over toast crumbs, his foot hooking mine under the table in playful nudges. Afternoons were ours. Pike Place market romps, tossing fish with vendors who catcalled us like newlyweds. The salty brine of the Sound whipping our hair, laughter bubbling free and bright. Evenings, Richard joined, his presence a gravitational pull, drawing stories from us over grilled steaks on the patio, the sizzle of meat and pop of corks underscoring the easy banter. But the cracks widened. One night, after a concert at the Paramount, some alt-rock band shredding guitars that vibrated through our bones, Alex and I stumbled home buzzed on cheap wine and adrenaline. The estate loomed dark against the starry sprawl, porch light a lone sentinel. He pulled me into the shadows by the garage, hands framing my face, breath minty and quick. This feels real sometimes, he murmured, lips brushing mine in a tentative press. Soft, searching, tasting of salt and possibility. I kissed back, gentle, my fingers tangling in his hair, the silk of it sliding cool against my skin. It was sweet, right, the kind of spark that could build slow and steady. But as his body molded to mine, solid and eager, my mind flashed to Richard, to the way his laugh rumbled deep when Alex nailed a punchline, or how his hand steadied on the small of my back, guiding me through a crowded room. Guilt twisted sharp in my gut, a knife's edge, and I pulled back, foreheads touching, breaths mingling ragged. Yeah, I whispered, thumb stroking his jaw, rough with evening stubble. It does. Upstairs, I lay awake, sheets twisted around my legs like restraints, the house sighing in the wind. Moonlight slanted through blinds, striping the floor in silver bars. Footsteps padded past my door. Richard's, I knew by the deliberate tread, and paused. I held my breath, the knob not turning, but the silence stretched taut, pregnant with what-ifs. When they faded, I exhaled slow, a shuddering release, and rolled over, punching the pillow. Alex's kiss lingered on my lips, warm and innocent, but it was Richard's imagined touch, rough hands, steady gaze, that haunted me into dawn. The breaking point came mid-month, a Friday fractured by fate. Alex had a gallery showing downtown. His first solo exhibit, canvases splashed with urban grit and hidden hearts, emotions bleeding color onto stretchers. Richard and I arrived early, weaving through the crowd of art snobs in black turtlenecks, the air thick with wine fumes and pretentious murmurs. Vibrant chaos, one critic drawled, swirling a glass, captures the queer underbelly of the Emerald City. Alex spotted us from across the room, beaming like the sun cracking clouds, paint-flecked shirt untucked over slim jeans. He dragged us to his favorite piece, a massive triptych of intertwined figures against a stormy skyline, limbs blurred in longing and loss. "What do you think?" he asked, eyes darting between us, vulnerable under the gallery's harsh spots. Richard clapped his shoulder, pride swelling his voice like a tide. "Son, it's you, bro. Honest, I'm floored." His hand lingered, squeezing, and Alex flushed, leaning into it with a grin that punched me in the chest. "Couldn't have without you too," Alex said, pulling me in for a side hug, his arm warm around my waist. "My muses." The word hung, teasing, and Richard's eyes met mine over his head, dark, unreadable, a storm brewing. We mingled then, but the room felt smaller, walls pressing in with the thump of bass from hidden speakers and the clink of glasses like distant chimes. I excused myself to the balcony for air, lungs burning from the press of bodies, the metallic bite of city exhaust cutting the floral haze. Richard followed, wordless, 2 flutes of champagne in hand. He pressed one into my palm, fingers brushing. Deliberate this time, a spark that arced hot. "Needed this too?" he asked, voice pitched low over the din. I sipped, bubbles fizzing sharp on my tongue. Crowds aren't my jam, but tonight, for him, worth it. He nodded, leaning on the railing beside me, shoulders brushing, the heat of him cutting the chill. Below, Seattle pulsed, neon veins threading dark streets, ferries hooting mournful on the water. "Alex shines up there," he said, gaze distant, "like his mother did before the cancer." The confession slipped out raw, edged with gravel, and he rubbed his jaw, stubble rasping under his palm. I turned, hand hovering near his arm. "Shit, Richard. I'm sorry. That's heavy." He met my eyes, vulnerability cracking the facade. A fissure in granite. 10 years gone, and it still guts me. She was the glue. After I buried myself in work. Hail tech boomed, but the house? Empty echoes. A pause, wind tugging at his collar, revealing the pulse jumping at his throat. Then you show up, and suddenly it's alive again. Laughter in the halls. Life. The words wrapped around me, tight as a vine, and I stepped closer, champagne forgotten, stem cool against my fingers. "I'm just the hired gun," I said, but it came out hoarse, the lie crumbling. His hand covered mine on the rail, thumbs circling slow, igniting trails of fire. "Bullshit. You're more." His breath ghosted my ear, ragged now, the city's hum fading to a dull roar. "Ethan, A door banged open behind us, Alex's voice slicing through. "Guys, they want a toast." Richard jerked back, hand dropping like scorched, face shuddering fast. We followed, the moment fracturing, shards glittering in my chest. The toast was blur. Clinks and cheers, Alex's cheeks flushed with triumph. But my skin hummed, every nerve attuned to Richard across the circle, his forced smile not reaching those eyes. Later, in the Jeep ride home, Alex sandwiched between us on the bench seat, his head on my shoulder, hand in Richard's, the cab filled with the low croon of radio jazz and exhaust fumes. I stared out the window, city lights streaking like tears, the weight of unspoken pressing down. At the estate, Alex kissed my cheek, quick, grateful, before bounding inside. Richard lingered by the door, keys jingling in his pocket. "Nightcap?" he offered, voice neutral, but his stance screamed tension. Shoulders squared, jaw tight. I nodded, throat dry as dust. In the study, fire crackling in the hearth, flames dancing shadows on paneled walls. He poured scotch, amber liquid glugging into tumblers, ice clinking like bones. We sank into armchairs facing each other, the rug muffling the settle of leather. Sips burned trails down my throat, smoky and peat-edged, loosening tongues. "You were incredible tonight," I started, glass sweating in my grip. "Both of you, family like that, it's rare." He chuckled, low and bitter. "Family. Yeah. After Ellen died, I swore I'd protect him. No more pain. Hired you for that." His eyes bored into mine, firelight gilding the gray to gold. "But it's backfiring. Spectacularly." The air thickened, charged with the snap of logs and our synced breaths. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "How so?" A beat. Then he set his glass down with a deliberate clunk. "Because watching you with him kills me. Not jealousy, God, no. But want." The word dropped heavy, detonating silence. He raked a hand through his hair, disheveling the waves. "For what you give him. Easy touch. Real talk. And fuck, Ethan, I see it in you too. That light makes me feel alive." After years of numb, my heart slammed, vision tunneling to his face. The raw plea there, lips parted on a held breath. I stood, crossing the space in 2 strides, dropping to one knee before him. His hand found my jaw, rough palm cupping, thumb tracing my lower lip, trembling now, the callus scraping soft. "Richard?" I breathed, voice cracking like dry leaves. He surged up, pulling me with him, mouths crashing in a kiss that tasted of scotch and desperation. Teeth clashing, tongues tangling fierce, his growl vibrating through me. Hands roamed, mine fisting his shirt, yanking buttons free to palm the hard plane of his chest, coarse hair tickling my fingers. His gripping my hips, grinding us flush, the hard length of him pressing insistent against my thigh. We stumbled back, knocking the chair, glass shattering on the floor in a spray of shards and amber spill. "Upstairs," he rasped against my neck, teeth grazing the pulse there, sucking a mark that bloomed hot and bruising. I nodded, dazed, as he hauled me toward the hall, stairs creaking under our frantic steps. His bedroom door slammed, lock clicking final, and we tore at clothes. Belts buckling open with metallic snaps, zippers rasping down, fabric pooling forgotten on the rug. Naked, he was a revelation. Broad chest dusted silver, abs ridged from discipline, thighs thick as oaks pinning me to the mattress. The air hummed with our pants, skin slapping slick as he sheathed himself, lube cool and slick between us. He entered slow at first, inch by burning inch, my nails digging crescents into his back, gasps tearing from my throat. Sharp, needy. "Fuck, Ethan," he groaned, burying deep, forehead slick against mine, sweat dripping salty between us. The bed frame thumped rhythm like a war drum, sheets twisting as we chased release. His hand stroking me firm, twisting at the head, my legs wrapping his waist, heels digging spurs. Climax hit like a wave crashing me first, spilling hot over his fist with a choked cry, vision whiting. Him following, pulsing inside, a guttural moan muffled in my shoulder, teeth sinking gentle. We collapsed, tangled and trembling, breaths sinking slow, the room reeking of sex and cedar from the headboard. After, he traced patterns on my chest, fingers lazy, voice a rumble in the dark. "This complicates everything." I turned, kissing his temple, tasting salt. "Yeah, but Alex." "Shoo." His arm banded tighter. "One night, then we figure it." Dawn crept gray through curtains, birdsong filtering tentative. I slipped out before Alex stirred, guilt a lead weight in my gut, but the memory burned sweet. His scent on my skin, the ache between my legs a secret brand. Downstairs, coffee brewed automatic, its gurgle mocking the storm we'd unleashed. The charade teetered, fragile as eggshell. And as I poured a mug, steam rising like ghosts, I wondered how long before it all shattered. The fallout simmered subtle at first, an undercurrent in the days that followed. Alex noticed the shift, my distractions during our coffee runs, the way I'd zone out mid-story, staring at the foam hearts the barista swirled in our lattes. Earth to Ethan, he'd tease, snapping fingers playful under my nose, his laugh a lifeline pulling me back, but guilt gnawed constant, a dull toothache in my chest, every stolen glance at Richard across the breakfast table sharpening it. Richard played it cool. Master of the house, all clipped emails and board calls that echoed tinny from his office. But touches lingered. A brush of knuckles passing the creamer, steam from his mug fogging the space between us. His boot nudging mine during movie nights, the pressure firm under the coffee table, unspoken Morse code. At night, when Alex crashed early, we'd collide in the study. Quick, hungry fumbles against bookshelves, spines digging into my back as his mouth claimed mine, scotch on his tongue and urgency in his grip. Missed this, he'd whisper, hand palming me through denim, zipper rasping urgent. But always, we'd pull apart at the edge, breaths ragged, clothes askew, the what-if of discovery hanging like smoke. It boiled over at the family barbecue, Richard's annual thing for Hale tech execs and neighborhood swells. Backyard transformed into a Norman Rockwell fever dream. String lights twinkling premature in the afternoon haze, grill smoke curling lazy with char and hickory, picnic tables groaning under potato salad and ribs sticky with sauce. Alex manned the AUX, blasting classic rock that thumped bass through the grass. His smile wide as he flipped burgers, aprons smeared grease, chatting up ants with easy charm. I hovered peripheral, nursing a beer that sweated cold in my fist, the bitter hop bite grounding the chaos. Richard worked the crowd like a pro, handshakes firm, laughs booming, but his eyes tracked me, magnetic pull across the lawn. When a lull hit, he sidled up by the cooler, ice crunching under scoops into red Solo cups. Having fun? He asked, voice pitched casual, but his free hand ghosted my lower back, light hidden by the press of bodies. Surviving, I muttered, clinking bottles, foam sloshing. Up close, he smelled of sunscreen and smoke, collar open to reveal the tan lines snaking down his chest. Your world's intense. He smirked, gray eyes crinkling. Stick around. Gets better. The double entendre landed heavy, heat pooling low, and I coughed into my beer, throat burning. Alex called then, waving tongs. Ethan, help with the slaw. Grateful for the out, I joined him, chopping cabbage with rhythmic thwacks on the cutting board, the sharp tang of vinegar stinging my eyes. Dad seems happier, he said, sidelong, knife pausing mid-slice. Since you. Coincidence. My gut twisted, blade slipping near my thumb. Nah, just good vibes. But his gaze lingered, probing, and I busied with the mayo jar, lid popping stubborn. The afternoon dragged sticky, sweat beating necks, kids shrieking chase through sprinklers, the low hum of conversation laced with clinking ice and distant fairy horns. By dusk, as fireflies blinked tentative in the hedges, the crowd thinned, leaving us three on the patio. Alex sprawled in an Adirondack, feet up, beard dangling lazy from fingers. Solid party, Dad. You outdid yourself. Richard lounged opposite, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to expose forearms veined blue. Team effort. His foot stretched, boot toe tapping my calf under the table. Deliberate, teasing, and I jolted, spilling foam on my jeans, the wet patch cooling fast. Alex's brow furrowed. You okay, Ethan? You've been jumpy all day. Fine? I lied, forcing a grin that tasted plastic. Just the heat. Night deepened, stars pricking the velvet sky, crickets chirping relentless chorus. Alex yawned, stretching cat-like. I'm beat. Night, guys. He hugged me loose, arms warm, chin bumping my shoulder, then clapped Richard's back before vanishing inside, screen door slapping shut. Silence fell, thick as the humidity, broken only by the grill's dying coals hissing steam. Richard stood, chair scraping gravel, and extended a hand. Walk. We wandered the garden path, gravel crunching under soles, lanterns casting pools of amber that danced shadows on rose bushes heavy with dew-kissed blooms. The air hung heavy with jasmine and earth, a breeze rustling leaves like whispers. His fingers laced mine, natural now, thumbs stroking knuckles in slow circles. This can't keep, I said finally, voice low, the words scraping out. Alex is catching on. And I... Shit, Richard, I care about him. But you... He stopped, pulling me into an alcove by the fountain, water burbling soft over stones. Moonlight silvered his face, etching hollows under cheekbones. I know. His free hand cupped my neck, tilting up, mouth descending slow, lips firm, tasting of lager and regret. The kiss deepened, tongues sliding lazy, his body pinning mine to ivy-draped trellis, leaves cool and crisp against my back. A twig snapped nearby, and we froze, breaths panting syncopated. Alex's voice drifted from the house, phone to ear, muffled laughter, then a door click. Richard exhaled shaky, forehead to mine. We tell him, together, tomorrow. Relief flooded, mingled terror, and I nodded, kissing his palm, rough, warm. Okay. Sleep evaded, sheets clammy, the ceiling fan whirring futile against the muggy dark. Dawn broke humid, birdsong shrill as alarms. Over breakfast, pancakes gone rubbery in the pan, coffee bitter on my tongue. We sat Alex down in the sunroom, ferns framing us like green bars. Richard cleared his throat, mug clattering saucer. Son, Ethan and I, we've developed feelings. For each other. Alex's fork stilled midair, syrup dripping slow, eyes widening to saucers. Silence stretched, taut as bowstring, the tick of the cuckoo clock mocking. Then he laughed, sharp, disbelieving, fork clattering plate. Wait, you're serious? My fake boyfriend and my dad. Richard winced, hand reaching tentative. It wasn't planned, but it's real. Alex shoved back, chair screeching tile. Real? While I'm what? The prop. God, Ethan, was any of it true? His voice cracked, hazel eyes glassy, betrayal flashing raw. I stood, palms up. Alex, yes. Every laugh, every hike. I fell for you first as a friend, deep. But Richard, it grew. I'm sorry. He bolted, feet pounding stairs, door slamming echo. Richard sagged, face ashen, and I knelt, arms around him, his shirt damp under my cheek. He'll come around? I murmured, but doubt gnawed. The house suddenly cavernous, empty as a husk. Hours crawled, sun climbing merciless, shadows shrinking. Richard paced the study, phone clutched white-knuckled, calls to therapists unreturned. I brewed tea, chamomile, steaming herbal calm, but it sat untouched, cooling to tepid. Dusk fell purple, crickets tuning up, when Alex reemerged, hair wild, eyes red-rimmed, but stance steady. Sit, he said, voice hoarse, gesturing the couch. We did, a triangle of tension, air thick with unsaid. He exhaled long, ragged, like deflating a balloon. I get it, kinda. Dad's been alone forever, playing martyr. And you, Ethan, you lit us both up. A pause, him rubbing temples, skin pale under the lamp's glow. Hurts like hell, though. Felt like we were building something. Richard leaned forward, elbows on knees. We are. All three. If you'll let us. Alex's gaze flicked between, softening incremental. Slow. No more secrets. And Ethan, you stay. For real. Dates, hikes, the works. But with boundaries. I nodded, throat tight, reaching for his hand. Fingers intertwining, tentative, warm. Richards joined, bridging us, calluses rough against smooth. Deal. That night, we talked till stars wheeled overhead, stories spilling like wine. Ellen's laugh echoing in memories. Alex's first crush crumbling tender. My own fractured family ghosts. Laughter crept in, hesitant bubbles, then full-bellied guffaws at old photos unearthed from albums. Dust sneezing us. By midnight, sprawled on the rug, fire dying to embers. Alex's head pillowed my thigh. Richard's arm draped us both. Breath's evening to sleep's rhythm. Outside, rain pattered gentle, washing clean, and in the quiet, I traced the lines connecting us. Father to son, son to me to him. Not a contract, but a covenant, forged in fire and forgiveness. Seattle's heart beat on, gray and green and unyielding, mirroring ours. Complicated, alive, endlessly possible. Weeks melted into a new normal, fragile as autumn leaves skittering across the estate's drive, but holding. Alex and I rebuilt slow, coffee shop confessions over scones crumbling flaky on plates, the bitter roast steaming confessions we hadn't voiced before. His fear of abandonment rooted deep in the divorce's quake. My own walls built from Tacoma's blue-collar grind, dadless holidays echoing hollow. We'd hike again, boots squelching mud on Discovery Park trails, salt air whipping cheeks as we crested bluffs, the sound sprawling endless blue below. His hand in mine felt different now. Honest, unforced, fingers lacing loose but sure, the press of palm grounding when words failed. Richard watched from the sidelines at first, gray eyes cautious over dinner fork scraping china. But he'd join us Sundays. Brunches at salami slices fatty and spiced bursting juice on tongues. His knee bumping mine under checkered cloths. A secret Morse of taps spelling want. Nights, when Alex retreated to his studio, charcoal dust blackening fingertips as he sketched feverish, Richard and I stole to the boathouse. Dark wood creaking on the dock, water lapping rhythmic against pilings. There, under lantern glow flickering orange on waves, we'd strip slow, clothes whispering to planks, his mouth mapping my collarbone with sucks that bloomed purple galaxies. Need you, he'd growl, hands kneading thighs, spreading wide as he knelt, tongue hot and insistent swirling salt from skin. I'd arch, fingers fisting his hair, waves thick and silver-threaded, gasp tearing raw as he took me deep, throat working swallow around me, the slap of water underscoring my cries. But boundaries blurred inevitable like ink bleeding wet paper. One crisp October eve, leaves crunching copper underfoot, Alex suggested a triple date. Nothing fancy, just the Alki Beach bonfire pits, where flames crackled orange against dusk's indigo, marshmallows toasting gooey on sticks. We arrived bundled. Hoodies zipped against the bite, thermoses sloshing mulled wine spiced clove and cinnamon. The sand chilled toes through socks, fire popping sparks that danced up to stars pricking velvet. Alex plopped between us on the log, shoulder to mine, Richard's arms stretching casual behind, fingers drumming my nape in lazy circles. Stories flowed with the tide's hush. Ghost ships sighted off the coast. Alex's wild uni pranks involving Jell-O in Dean's offices. Laughter rang bright, echoing over waves, but under it thrummed heat. Richard's touch dipping lower, grazing spine, sending shivers unrelated to the wind. Alex caught it, eyes narrowing flicker, but he leaned into me instead, head on shoulder, breath-warm puffing neck. "This okay?" he murmured, hands sliding thigh-ward, palm pressing intent through denim. I swallowed, glancing Richard, his nod subtle, jaw tight with held breath. "Yeah?" I whispered, turning to capture Alex's mouth. Soft at first, tentative sips of wine-sweet lips, then deepening as his tongue slipped seeking, a moan humming low. Richard watched, firelight gilding his face to bronze, hand stilling on my neck before trailing down, cupping through fabric, thumb circling slow over the growing ache. The kiss broke, Alex's eyes dark pools reflecting flames, and he shifted, straddling my lap bold, hips grinding deliberate as Richard leaned in, mouth claiming Alex's shoulder. Teeth grazing cloth, hand joining mine under hoodie, palms flat on abs rippling tense. "Dad!" Alex gasped, head lolling back, but no protest, just a shudder rippling through him like wave on shore. "Shoo!" Richard rumbled, voice gravel over roar, nipping earlobe. "Let us." Clothes shed piecemeal, zippers rasping, hoodies tugged overhead to bare skin kiss chill then fire hot. Sand gritted backs as we tangled, a knot of limbs and breaths. Alex's mouth on mine fierce, hips rocking slick where I'd freed him, pre-cum smearing sticky. Richard behind, chest to Alex's back, hand guiding mine to stroke tandem, rhythms syncing to the ocean's pulse. His free arm banded us, fingers teasing my entrance lube slick from pocket vial, pressing in curl to hit that spot sparking white behind eyes. Gasps layered, mine hitching sharp, Alex's whine pitching high as Richard entered him slow, stretch evident in the tremor of thighs clamped mine. "Fuck! Yes?" Alex breathed, nails raking my chest, red trails stinging sweet, the thrust built chain. Richard's hips snapping measured, driving Alex deeper onto me, friction building coil tight in gut. Stars wheeled overhead, salt spray misting skin, the world narrowing to slick slides and shared moans. Release crashing triad, me spilling hot inside Alex with a cry muffled his neck, him clenching pulse around us both, spilling ropes across my stomach with a sob, Richard following guttural, burying deep with a roar that scattered gulls. We collapsed spent, sand-caked and sated, waves lapping gentle applause. Blankets wrapped us after, tangled spoons under stars, breaths evenings syncopated. "Family?" Alex murmured, fingers tracing patterns on my arm. Richard's chin hooked shoulder. No words needed more. The tide carried the rest. Winter gripped Seattle then. Rain sheeting relentless, streets rivers reflecting taillights red. Inside the estate, warmth bloomed. Thanksgiving roast turkey carving juicy. Gravy boats steaming. Laughter toasting over pie crust flaky. Alex's exhibit sold out. Canvases fetching sums that widened his eyes. Richard's arm proud around waist at the closing gala. My hand in his pocket. Thumb circling coin through fabric. But shadows lingered, uninvited guests. One sleet-lashed night, Richard's phone shattered quiet. Midnight call, voice tinny pleading from the speaker. "Rick, it's Marla. Boards circling. Leak about your personal life. Photos from the beach. Discreet my ass." His face drained chalk, phone slipping grip to clatter marble. Alex stirred from couch, sketchpad tumbling, eyes wide. "What leak?" Richard paced, boots thudding rug, hand raking hair. "Paparazzi. Hail text image, conservative donors, Seattle old guard. If this hits." I stood, hand on arm muscle corded iron. "We face it. Together." The story broke dawn. Tabloid splash, grainy shots of our bonfire tangle, headlines screaming, "Tech Titans taboo threesome." Phones erupted, reporters buzzing like wasps, bored emails pinging urgent. Richard fielded calls steely, voice brooking no bullshit, but cracks showed. Lines deepening, scotch glasses emptying faster. Nights when he'd slip from bed, pacing moonlit halls, sigh ragged echoing. Alex retreated inward, studio door barred, canvases emerging slashed violent. Reds bleeding black, figures fractured. "They see us as freaks," he spat one eve, charcoal snapping in fist, shards scattering like accusations. "Not love." I pulled him close, arms banding tight, chin atop curls. "They don't get to define us." But doubt wormed, cold as the draft's whistling eaves. The climax-crested boardroom showdown. Hail Tower's summit, glass walls framing storm-lashed skyline, thunder rumbling bass. Suits leered from oak table, folders slapping open to our photos, murmurs slithering. "Immoral. Risk to brand." Chairman droned, jowls quivering. Richard rose, spine steel, voice thunderclap. Immoral? Love isn't a liability. It's strength. Alex, Ethan, they're my family. Hail Tech stands on innovation, not hypocrisy. Resign if you can't stomach progress. Silence deafened. Then chairs scraped concession. Resolutions tabled, hands grudging shakes. Back home, rain hammering pains like fists, we celebrated quiet. Takeout Thai steaming spicy, limbs entwining on the rug, touches tender mapping scars. Proud of you, I whispered to Richard, lips brushing temple, salt of sweat lingering. Alex curled flank, hand over heart. Us against the world. Spring unfurled tentative, cherry blossoms pink confetti on walks, our triad solidifying. Dates doubling, hikes tripling, nights blending seamless. Alex graduated cum laude, cap tassel swaying as we cheered front row. Richard's kiss claiming both under stadium lights, whistles be damned. I landed a Hail Tech gig, branding their queer youth initiative, sketches flowing free under fluorescent hum. One golden June dawn, porch swing creaking gentle, coffee mugs cooling on rail, Richard cleared throat, ring box velvet in palm, two bands, silver intertwined. Marry me? Seattle's got those laws now. Make it legal, official. Alex hooped, tackling hug that toppled us laughing. Hell yes. My yes choked wet, fingers slipping gold home. The click final as vows whispered later at City Hall. Simple, sun streaming stained glass, officiant beaming as signatures scratched paper. The reception, estate backyard, fairy lights twinkling, friends toasting with craft IPAs foaming. Alex's mural backdrop splashed triumphant. Dances blurred. Richard's lead strong, hand low back possessive. Alex's sway loose, hips grinding teas to slow jams humming. Under stars, cake frosting sweet on tongues shared. We slipped away to the gazebo, breaths quickening as ties loosened, shirts unbuttoned to bare moon-pale skin. There, on cushions piled soft, we loved unhurried, kisses trailing lazy from jaw to chest, hands exploring familiar yet new, moans weaving harmony with cricket song. Richard entered me slow, Alex's mouth soothing stretch with licks warm, then switching fluid, bodies flowing one to next in cycle endless. Climax built wave, cresting shared, cries mingling, releases pulsing sync, afterglow wrapping us cocoon. Years spun after, Alex's gallery thriving, walls hung our stories abstract. Richard's board yielding to reforms, Hail Tech rainbow proud. My designs gracing billboards, city skyline etched personal. Wrinkles crept, silver threading more, laughs deepening gravel. But love held, vine twined, roots deep in Seattle soil. On our 10th anniversary, same porch swing groaning protest, grandkids, adopted bright-eyed, chasing fireflies in dusk, we sat entwined, hands linked chain. Worth the hire, Richard murmured, lips nipping ear. Alex chuckled, head on shoulder. Best contract ever. I squeezed fingers, heart full swell. Fell hard, stayed harder. And in the gathering dark, with rain sent teasing promise, we rocked on, family forged, forever sealed.